Welcome everybody to Inspired Action. Today I have one of my friends actually, Gregg Boughey, who basically I met doing the full Monty. How are you, Greg?
Very well, thanks, James. Great to see you again, and thanks very much for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure. Let's just start off. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, the main reason how we met was due to the charity called KMAC. We met through a mutual friend who put together the idea of doing the full Monty after I went on to a local radio station to talk about me taking on the role of KMAC, which stands for Kidney Arse Cancer. At the time, I'd been away doing a rather large race, about 114 miles. And it was around about the time as well where I'd not only just lost my sister, I'd recently lost my mum. So it was all kind of tied into that. And Rich, live on air, bless him, came up with an idea of the full Monty. We agreed. And wow, didn't you guys put one heck of a show on?
It's leave your hat on kind of thing.
Oh, to be honest, I mean, I wasn't as heavily involved as I wanted to be, but just to share the stage with you for the brief time that I did was a great privilege. And for those 2 nights, something very, very special happened. And you should all be very, very proud about it, because even just me, I'm proud of all of you. I think it was absolutely phenomenal.
Well, I suppose we went from, I joined in September, and then by was it April, May?
April, yeah.
1,000 people.
It went from 1 night to being sold out to 2, and that just says it all. Full night of full entertainment, which was absolutely superb.
Yeah. Let's just go back to before you lost your mum and your sister. How are you what age were you when you lost your mother and sister?
Well, to be fair, I mean, I lost my dad 10 years ago. So that was kind of like the catalyst where my kind of drive against cancer started. But I wasn't aware of how far losing my dad would carry and snowball to being the head of KMAC now and an ambassador to the Royal Marsden. You just don't script that. You just don't see it coming. It's been a very, very difficult and upsetting journey, but on the other side, it's also been an absolute brilliant one. And it's something I'm unbelievably proud to be. So yeah, please feel free to ask anything that you want to, James. I'm all yours for the next hour.
So let's go back to when you were a child and a boy. What kind of things did your parents instill in you?
I'll be honest, I had one of the best upbringings that I could ever dream of. I came from a very working class family. It was my mum, my dad, and me and my sister. I never wanted for anything. And me being 4 years younger than my sister, I didn't realise the stress and the struggle that happened to my mum and dad with recessions, my dad being out of work, except my sister very much protecting me from that. It's only as you get older do you realise how hard growing up can be sometimes. But again, this is probably why the grief or the loss of those 3 people were so heavy with me, because they weren't just parents, they weren't just my sister, they were my friends even back then, and they instilled the core values that I stand by today. Hard work gets you absolutely everywhere. Do you know what I mean? If you believe in yourself, if you stick around good people, and you take the lows, do it, but don't stay down there for too long. Build yourself back up and enjoy the highs when they come, because eventually you will. It's all about belief in yourself, and it's all about surrounding yourself by people that want to help you on that way. Always be grateful. Always be grateful for anybody that gives you a helping hand up. So you instilled who I am. I'm the man I am today because of the way they brought me up, without a shadow of a doubt.
How did, obviously, when your dad died, how did that impact you as a person?
It's at the time I didn't realise just how much of an impact it did, because it kind of just came from nowhere. It literally was. It was one of those where my dad was a healthy, very active man, and same as most things that cancer touches, it It came from absolutely a bolt from the blue. My dad just thought he had a sore throat. He went to the doctors. They thought it was a sore throat. Lo and behold, a month later, he's been sat down and he's been told that he has not even 6 months to live. So at the time, you kind of go, wow, it's time to grow up very, very fast here, Greg. I'd just become a dad. So you kind of go from being worrying about me and taking on the focus of looking after my mum, my wife at the time, my son, my sister. But at the time, by doing that, I didn't realise just what the knock-on effect was going to be for me personally when my best mate died. He did. He went from being my hero to being not there anymore.
How did that impact you? What kind of emotions were running through your head, kind of thing?
Just devastation. If I'm honest, shock. It's a lot easier for me to speak about it now because I understand it better.
Yeah.
But at the time, it's probably where I started my little running away act. I didn't realise I was doing that at the time. I surrounded myself by, right, okay, it's time to be the man of the family. It's time to take on that mantle. My sister needs me. My mum needs me. My dad's asked me to look after him. So my role changed. But whereas I should have gone, okay, just one little step at a time, I went too much into it. And to detriment to myself at the time, because I didn't head up with just how much losing my dad had, well, impacted what was going to happen later.
Yeah.
So it did definitely change me. I wish I'd have dealt it a lot sooner then.
Yeah. They always say when you have, regardless of what your loss is, when you have a loss, you need to have a grieving period. Then once the grieving period's over, which could last for a day, could last for a week, could last longer. Obviously not to dwell in it too long, but then once you're over the grief, you can then basically work out what to do next, what actually happened, what emotions you need to release, and how you're going to release them.
So I couldn't agree more. At the time, that word grief was just exactly that. It was the word grief. You kind of think, you know what? I'll grieve for a bit. It'll pass. I'll get used to it. Do you know what I mean? And life goes on because you don't realise grief again is attached to mental illness. Of course it is, because it affects the way you think. It affects the way you approach things. And what I did was, again, what I wanted to go on a front foot. I wanted to make a difference to try and stop people from. There's a theme here that keeps coming up. I wanted to try and take away my pain by helping other people. So that's when I kind of went down the route of my first big fundraising venture. One night, I decided I was going to do something. I thought it's got to be different. It's got to be big. No respect to anybody who runs marathons. I think they do fantastic. I didn't want to generate that type of money. I wanted to go bigger than that. So just completely out of nowhere, I signed up for my first 100. And I thought, you know what, that will raise some money. But again, I didn't realise it was only delaying the fact of that I needed to grieve for my dad. It was kind of like that'll fill that void for the time being. And it'll pass after that because I kind of ran it out of me. Whereas it's broken things down, breathed a little bit, slowed things down, and looked at it a little bit more calmly, then it would have done myself and the people around me. I keep using myself here, but the people around me struggled as well. Yeah, they saw that I was not myself. They saw that I was signing up for something that, whether or not you're an athlete running up for 100 miles just because one night you've drank up too many cans of stout and think it's a good idea to raise money, isn't the best way about putting your family first, being honest. But again, as I've said, I'm a very blessed boy. They were very supportive and we got the job done. And again, at the time, raised unbelievable amounts of money. And I'm eternally grateful for it because he went with my idea, which I'm very grateful he did. But it didn't stop the fact that I missed my dad. No way.
Let's go to the 147 kilometers or miles?
There was two. I've done 112 but the 114, which was the one that I did mainly for KMAC, that was it's actually 3 years around about this time now. It's 3 years next weekend.
Was that before your sister and mum died, or after?
Yeah, it was in between. I'd been lucky. I'd done a race series before called the Grand Slam. But again, as I said, there wasn't much of a gap period between when my dad passed away and Nicola first being diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, okay.
So we had brilliant times in between there. Like obviously, my niece was born, etc. My sister got married, but then cancer started to knock on the door. So the focus of the family turned to looking after Nick. So we kind of moved on to that.
Yeah.
And Nick's ambition has been very public. I went down the route again of wanting to raise funds for it. So I kind of off the radar, did a thing called the Grand Slam, which was 3 races, all ultra distances, all extreme races. And one was the 112, 110 as it was. Because I completed that, I kind of signed up for, I kind of graduated to the Super Slam. But during that period, when I was starting to race the Super Slam, Nicola passed away. And then sadly, my mum passed away as well. So it was kind of like a double whammy where the 112, the 114 as it was, had fell behind in between 2 periods of, again, 2 monumental figures in my life. So it kind of took on a role again of taking that pain away for me.
Mm-hmm. How did you go about training for something so big?
It just dedication. It's just dedication. I was fueled by a lot of negativity, if I'm honest. Looking back now, I still train now, but I train a lot different. It was one of those where every training run I went out to push myself, because I knew that running those type of distances, I mean, the first race was 33 miles. The second race was 57 when we had the Beast from the East, which is the night when I was away running, being a hero again, was the night that my mum slipped into a coma when I was away running. Not many people know that, but that's the truth. And then as you train for those, the 114 as it was down was the pinnacle. It was one where you had to push your body to the limits. I knew it was going to be difficult. I knew that it was going to be mostly ran on my head. But it was just about getting out there, putting the miles in. And to be honest, did I get my training right? No, I didn't. Was I looking after myself probably right? No. But I went about and did what I needed to do. And I'm very, very chuffed again. We raised phenomenal amounts of money. Yeah. Phenomenal amounts of money.
How did you train your mind?
Negativity of pain, loss, grief. So my anger was fueling me to go on these extreme distances and push myself to the limits. And it was kind of one of those, well, when I do this, it will empty the tank. I'll be okay after that, and I won't need to worry about having to worry about all these emotions I've got about the fact that I'm never going to see these amazing people again. So again, it took on a role as my kind of my pain, my sponge to suck up my pain. But unbeknown to me, it didn't work that way. It wasn't going to work that way. Now I was just running away from it.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense, I suppose, when you're trying to run that miles and you got all this emotion and grief within you. You'd have some way of trying to get rid of it. So how did, obviously after the loss of the 3 of them, were you ever hit by a period of complete grief? Or did you, well, I suppose, did you manage just to kind of allow it to settle and then just keep moving forward?
Brilliant question, James. Brilliant question. And I'm so glad you brought it up. It got to the stage where I was starting to worry. Not worry, but I was worried about myself, because I was kind of thinking, you know what, Greg? When I was coming back from like the 112, one of the big races, it was kind of like it was kind of like a circle. All right, I'd be tired. I'd watch my support team upset that they've seen me slumped in the back of the car when I've got another 20 miles to get together. My best mate's got to tell me to keep going and drive forward, because he knows how much it means to me. He knows that I want to finish. And then when you come back, you have the euphoria, you have the well done, the congratulations, you're a hero, Greg, you've gone and done it, what you ran through all that negativity kind of thing, and you kind of get used to it. Yeah, but then you think to yourself, you know what? What's next? What's the next race that I can go to push myself to my limits? What, 140, 150, 160? Am I going to be able to put myself through that, my body through that? Or am I going to be able to put my friends through that, my support team through that? How many likes on a Facebook post? 20, 30? How many well dones am I going to get? Just to take away the fact that I need to sit down and speak to somebody and say, I'm struggling with grief and I'm sick of running away from it. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, it's like, it sounds like it's an addiction to just to keep doing stuff to kind of hide away from the emotion.
That's completely hide away. If I don't have to think about it and everybody's telling me that I'm doing great, why do I need to go and face up to it? But like I said to you, when does it get dangerous? When does it get to the stage where, yeah, I'm going to push my body to the point where it won't come back, or I do a serious injury to myself? And again, you can't do anything like this on the road. You've got to stay with my support team and going, no, Greg, enough's enough.
Mm-hmm.
But what? I can go down different routes and raise money. I don't need to put myself to the brink just because I haven't had the courage in myself to sit down and say, you know what? I need a bit of help here, because I do. And I did. And I'm glad I did. And I feel a million times better about it. Because that thing that started small, when I say that, that's no respect to my dad, the small doubt about my dad having to deal with grief then, obviously with that doesn't go away after you plan a race. It stays there, and over the time it grows. Then you see other people suffer. So that size becomes double. You lose another person, that triples. You run away from it again. You do another race, you get told you're a hero. Then it just keeps snowballing. And as I said to you, when was I ever going to turn around and stop? No, I've got a family. I've got amazing friends I want to spend time with. So it was time to sit down and say, do you know what? I need somebody to help me. And yeah, I did. I really did, and I'm absolutely delighted that I did. This is the first time I've ever spoken to anybody about it like this. And I'm glad I'm doing it.
When you asked for help for the first time, what was it like after?
Superb. Absolutely superb. Absolutely superb. And the second I realised, I can even tell you where I was. I sat in the car. I remember just sitting there going, you know, I need to speak to a grief counsellor. And I did. I went on my phone, found the first available one that was on the top of the list. I rang the lady and I booked an appointment there and then. And being honest with you, James, the relief I felt just by making the phone call was absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely phenomenal. I speak about quite publicly now to other people, because again, grief's a form of mental health issues, because it can quite easily slide into depression. It can quite easily slide into anxiety. It can quite easily, but when you are everybody's hero, okay, and everybody's telling you well done, you don't think it is. Yeah. But only when you stop and realise that, you know what, I can't do this to myself anymore, do you go, do you know what, it's been there for a while, let's go and sit down and talk about it. And I did. And I quite honestly say this. If I'd have fell over on one of my races and damaged my knee, the first place I would have gone would have been to get help. Why can't I do that? Because my brain was saying to me that I was missing people. It's that simple, but it's not been spoke about for. It's not easy to speak about that according to a lot of people's perception, but it shouldn't be like that. We're all here to help each other. We're all here to be honest.
Yeah, well, I think also it's the old way of thinking. So men have always, if you think back to the Greek and Romans, if you had a loss, you just go out and fight, and you'd kind of have it on the battlefield. Whereas now we're in this fast-paced world where it's completely different. We're not being chased or killed or anywhere. Obviously, in certain countries you are, but for the majority of people, you're not. And we've got no way of really venting the grief, men especially, the grief or anything like that. And so I think it's just, we don't know how to deal with it.
No, we don't. And Well, I'll be really honest. I certainly didn't. Like, I thought grief was something you put on. It was kind of like a period. Do you know what I mean? After 2 weeks, it goes away. You sort yourself out. You deal with it, kind of. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away. You're always going to miss them. They're always going to be there. It's been able to get used to it, if that's the right word. Yeah. But facing up to the fact that it's okay for you to miss them, and not go and have the anger that they aren't here, not towards yourself or to them, but because you haven't sat down and gone, you know what? I do miss them, but I want to miss them in the right way. I can tell you now, if any of them saw the limits that I was pushing myself, you'd have stopped me straight away. Of course they would have, because they love me. But I couldn't. People after they've had bad loss go and drink. People take drugs. People find other avenues. Yeah, I found an avenue which was to run to the extremes and push myself to the limits. None of them are right. None of them. They're all want cries of help to turn around and say, you know what? Just talk to somebody. Just talk to somebody. And since I've done that, which was 2 years ago, my goodness, don't I feel better and don't I enjoy running a lot more, which is the most important thing.
Well, I've had since a breakup last year, I've had therapy sessions, EFT and rematricing for every 2 weeks for the last year. And obviously we've always got issues. We're like an onion. You take one layer off, you've got a next layer and a next layer. I suppose I'm becoming a therapy addict, shall I say, having therapy sessions. But I think the world would be a much, much better place if everybody had therapy sessions.
I agree.
At least everything.
I agree. I'll be honest with you. I'm probably the most open I've been now about how I feel, and I've got actually no shame in it. I've got during lockdown, I've had absolutely no problem at all with being able to message my friends and say, you know what, I'm having a bit of a tough time. Lockdown's been very different for everybody. It really has. There's going to be sad stories that are going to come out. There already have been. There's going to be a lot of good stories that are going to come out of lockdown as well, because it's been a very, very unforgettable, strange year that nobody could have predicted. But I'd like to think that people now will be a lot more aware of being able, like you say, James, to be able to turn around and say, you know what, I'm not doing too well today. And then instead of people going, well, pull yourself together, get a grip, which was the norm. We can turn around and go, go and talk to me. What's the matter? It's simple. It's taking time to understand. Don't hear, listen. It's simple to do. Simple. You don't need to keep on saying to man up, because it doesn't work. It does not work.
So how did, obviously having the therapy sessions, how did that completely change your mindset and stuff?
Just the first thing when you deal with that is to understand that you aren't going crazy. You are right to feel the way you are, and you have been through a lot. So that's a good start. It really is, because you start to think that, you know what, these superheroes can feel bad. Do you know what I mean? They can struggle. And then you start to understand about how I'm going to deal with it better. Do you know what I mean? Are the things that I can change? And again, it's understanding how important those people were in my life, and being able to understand why they were so important in my life. Once I got to that point, I was very easy to turn around and say, do you know what? I can let them go, because they're always going to be there. Instead of running myself into the ground to make them proud, wake up every day and make them proud, and by being a better person. And that's how my mindset's changed. I don't need to have a medal rack. I don't need to have 200 likes on Facebook. As long as I wake up every morning, I do the best I can for me and my family. That's the way I want to make them proud, and that's the mindset. That's the mindset, big time.
How obviously now you've been for the therapy, how has your running changed, and what's your mindset like now?
Right. I love it. I absolutely love it. You hear sports people turn around and say, I found my mojo back, or I found on my sports. I have massively, because whereas before I was having to get up and train because I had to, and I had to go and run 20 miles or I had to do a 100-mile week. I don't do that anymore. I go out and run for as long as I'm enjoying it. If I'm feeling good, I'll stay out. If today's not my day, instead of pushing myself and thinking that I've beat myself up for the next 3 days that I didn't train as hard, I go back and go, you know what? We'll try again tomorrow. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And that's why I fell back in love with not just training, but also coaching it now. And back racing. I was back racing last weekend, and it's probably the first race I've been back for a long, long time where I actually really enjoyed it because my mind was absolutely free. I wasn't thinking, you know what, I've got to get a time. I've got to do this because 40 people respond to me, or I've got to do it because KMAC needs me to. I went out and ran because Gregg Boughey wanted to run, and that was the most important thing. And I absolutely loved it, and I'll do the same again in June.
Yeah, I always say when you're on this journey, you need to have fun, because doing something just for the hell of it, or just doing something because somebody says, or you've got to do it because you're committed, it makes it more difficult. Because I did a marathon a couple of years ago. I hated it, and
I can believe it. Yeah,
training. I had to every week, almost every weekend for the last 4 months up to it. I had to go and do a long run, and it's like, seriously?
Yeah, you do, but it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like. I mean, you look at that. It's a cliche. If you do anything that you enjoy that has the word fun, you're going to do it twice as much, and you're going to keep wanting to go back to it. So whether or not you're training for a marathon or you train the 4 months, one thing I loved about you guys, even when I was racing with you, yes, we were there for a very serious reason, okay? And yes, it was important that we got it right, or you guys got it right. But the one thing that the group did absolutely superb was they kept it fun. Yeah, the pressure was there. That was kind of individual, but the fun factor was the massive part about that. And that's what shone out of it. Yeah. And that's why, again, you should be exceptionally proud, because finding that balance was very well done. So I tip hat to you massively on that.
But I think it's like anything now, isn't it? If you got a business but you're not enjoying it, what's the point in doing it? Same with a job. Same with if you're in if you're in a relationship and you've got kids. If you're not enjoying it, you've got to do something about it.
Yeah. So James, I've run a training company now for 15 years, and I'm very, very blessed. I absolutely love the job that I do. And again, it's the same. Find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I've been blessed to be able to say that for 15 years. If I was in a situation where I wanted to join a job, would I sit there and just go through it? Being honest, because of the way the things I've had, I wouldn't. I'd be like, Luke, it's time to change. Life's to be enjoyed, especially when after this year, when so much has been taken away from us. I'd like to think now we appreciate that. You know what? Being around good people, having fun, taking the pressure out of it. Yeah, we all need money, right? But money can't buy everything. It certainly can't. So if we can go back to having that fun factor of things, or enjoyment factor, you're going to want to do something twice as good.
Yeah. 100% right. So since you've we've got actually dealt with the grief, well, dealing with the grief, should I say, because you never really, you do eventually, but it takes a while.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, birthdays, Christmas, it's not like that, because that birthday's, Christmas, everybody asks if you're okay. But you see, it's the everyday thing. It's the little things. It's like when you have a good day, or you've landed a first aid contract, or I've landed some good news has happened, and you want to pick the phone or something. That's grief. That's when it gives you a reminder that not there. The big occasions are very, very special. Of course they are. But that's when you go back to the thing. You know what? You've had a good day. That's all they want for you, and you move on. And it's a lot easier to manage now. Trust me, it hasn't always been this easy for me to feel like this, because, as you said, I've had this for over 10 years when I lost my dad. So it is a journey. It's never going to go away, James. I don't want it to, because I don't ever want to forget them.
So since you've started having therapy and stuff, and I can imagine there's times when things don't go to plan.
Yep.
How do you deal with that, and how do you overcome it?
Now, I just think, do you know what? I've been to worse places. All right. Losing people like that is probably, for me, as low as that I could probably fall. Little problems, whether it be work-based, family-based, friends-based, business-based through lockdown, they can all be dealt with. But it's all about communication. Whereas before I would have gone, right, I'll deal with that myself. Go to bed worried about it. Wake up 3 days still worrying about it. Now I've got no problem at all being able to say, right, to one of my best friends, do you want to go for a walk? Or guess what, I'm worried about this. And the bizarre thing is, if it's something like it was for lockdown, where I was worried about my company, and you speak to one of you, they're exactly the same. So you've got the same interest, you've got the same problem, but you just halved it because you're both speaking about the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Communication. It's okay to turn around and say, James, I need help. It's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of weakness. It is a huge sign of strength. It really is, because too long, and I will say more so men, have been too proud to turn around to anybody and say, I need your help. Well,
Yeah.
Do it. We're all here to help each other. At the end of the day, sometimes I'm going to be ahead of my best mate, or sometimes I'm going to be ahead of people. Yeah, fine. But sometimes I'm going to be behind people. It's not a race.
Mm-hmm.
We've just got to think about where we are. And if we do start to struggle, don't let it slip too far down the ladder. Just turn around and say, do you know what, I'm having a bit of pants day. It could be something simple.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as just somebody taking you out for go for a nice steady run. It could be anything.
Yeah. I can imagine, obviously now with your complete mind change with regards to the running and stuff, do you ever get into the flow? I can imagine.
Say again, sorry.
Do you ever get into the flow with the running?
Yeah, I do, but I love it.
What do you personally do? Or do you just do it? I suppose you just do it for fun, do you? And
now I'm in the training mode. Okay, during lockdown, it was all about. I like goals. Okay,
yeah.
I like targets. Not to the extremes of what I've done before, but I like motivation to keep moving forward. But this time it's been controlled. During lockdown, I signed up for one of the virtual races, which was fantastic. Again, no pressure, none whatsoever. I went out and did it when I wanted to. I've got a race series that I signed up for last year, but unfortunately was cancelled due to COVID. So it's kind of come back this year, and I'm glad it has, because this race series is all it's going to be about. Yeah, KMAC's going to be brought into it, but it's going to be about me finding my rhythm again, and also telling people, do you know what, we can get back to what we wanted to be like, but please don't worry about sponsorship. Just worry about checking yourself. Go back to self-awareness. Go back to the things that you've put off. Go back to you're not being able to get to your doctors because of this. If there's something not right, get it checked. So that's going to be the message later on. But for me, running personally now, headphones on, smile on my face. Let's do a bit.
Get in your zone and then go.
Yeah. Listen, I can run to anything. But I do struggle when something like Coldplay comes on. No respect to Coldplay if you're listening, okay? It just slows me down. I'm more of an upbeat man. You know I am. I'm hyperactive. You know I am.
Yeah, I'm the same. But what I've noticed myself is that sometimes I've had a kind of a huge insight. So what I've realised that sometimes I'm very energetic, lively character generally, and you can be that for people. But then what I've realised that sometimes you need to have, when you've got sadness coming in you need to have a sad day, and give that sadness space. Don't judge it. Just give it space so that you can just sit there with it and allow it to come up. And what I realized was that what was coming up for me was actually that it was some old relationship patterns which had been happening in all my relationships. But now, because I identified it and accepted it, I could then kind of deal with it. I can deal with it quite easy because I have a support network kind of thing. But it's the identifying and accepting, which is the big thing for me.
Yeah, could not agree more. And James, you're not alone with that, because you do have down days. You don't know whether you don't even know why they happen. It happens to us all. Like you can have three brilliant, the next day you feel a bit out of sorts. And again, it's when it happens, not sitting there and going, do you know what the heck's happening to me? It's about learning roll with it. Yeah. Again, through lockdown, I found a new level in myself because I read more. I listened to music. I took myself away from the firing line of having to worry about missing people, etc. I kind of thought, you know what, I'm going to be strict to the rules because I want this to go away. And again, lockdown in a very strange way for me was very, very good for me. It was much needed calm, again, during a traumatic couple of years beforehand. And to say that I've come out of lockdown better than I went in, yeah, I would certainly say that. But again, during that period, you do have days where you go, I'd like being with somebody, or I do miss people. But again, just allow it. Don't think you feel just you're doing anything wrong by feeling that way. Everybody's got a right to feel down at some point. Yeah, we laugh all the time, and people don't worry about it. So if we cry, what's wrong with that? It's just the opposite emotion. We're all human. It's what makes us brilliant.
How, out of interest, how sensitive are you to energy?
Say again, sorry.
Are you sensitive to energy? Can you feel the emotion inside?
Yeah. Again, is it a weakness or is it?
Well, it's not. Definitely is not a weakness.
I find other people getting upset very, very difficult to be around because I don't like seeing people that I care about upset.
Yeah.
And probably again, you try and take their pain away by taking it on yourself, but sometimes you have to allow it. One, you can't do that, and two, you can't take on everybody else's pain. You've got to focus on selfish as it sounds. You've got to focus on yourself to be strong before you can turn around and tell somebody else that you can be strong for them. It doesn't work like that. We've got to think about number one, as selfish as it sounds, before we can even turn around to anybody and say, you're going to be okay.
Well, it comes down to when you were a child and it's not their fault, but your mother or father might say, you start crying and say, somebody might say, man up, or come on, stop crying, you're all right. Yeah. But it's the emotion to allow it. Crying is a way of allowing the emotion to be released.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, listen, I regard myself as having a good sense of humour. I like being around people that make me laugh. Okay. But don't get me wrong, I've seen those same people cry, and I've cried myself in front of them. Do I think any less of them? No, I don't. Not in the slightest, because it's just an emotion that says something's not right. Pain is a warning sign. Pain, whether in your brain, pain in your legs, pain when you're upset, is something telling you that something's not right. Yeah. Don't ignore it, deal with it, and then just like you would if you put a plaster on something.
Yeah. See the body as a whole, and it's not just a physical.
Without question.
Physical, it's energy as well.
Without question. Yeah. And look after it. Do you know what I mean? Look after it, because let's be honest, we've certainly got no one else we can with.
Yeah. Out of interest, what 1 to 3 things have helped you to boost your self-confidence?
Me?
Yeah.
Belief in myself, without a shadow of doubt. If I don't believe in myself, there's absolutely no point in me trying to be there for anybody else. I don't need to be told, whereas before sometimes I needed to be told how good I was. Yeah. No, it's a belief in myself. If I believe I can do it, I'll go and do it. Mm-hmm. Understand I've got flaws. Okay, that's boosted my confidence massively, because to know that I'm not always going to get it right, I am going to say things wrong, and I am going to certainly make mistakes. Made plenty in the past, plenty. But I'd like to think I've learned from it. And the other one is sense of humour. Do you know what I mean? Being able to look at things now, not so much from a serious point of view, look at it from a point of view where you go, do you know what? You've been in a lot worse situations than this. So let's turn that negative round as best we can. By doing all those 3 things, it's made me the best version of myself that I've been for a very, very long time. And I can honestly say that to you, mate. I wouldn't come on air and say anything different if it wasn't true. Yeah.
How about taking action? What 1 to 3 things have helped you take action?
Realization that you can't run away from what's hurting you. That's definitely one. Time, I'd say time, because I think when you're certainly a family of 4 and you're the last one left, you realize that I certainly aren't Iron Man, that I'm not immortal. So I'd like to live the best life I can for myself, my son, and the people that are around me, and enjoyment. That's what it's done. Instead of looking for what's wrong with the world and looking for taking away everybody else's pain, enjoying the things that I've got around me and the people I've got around me, because the people that have stuck by me through all the loss of my parents, etc., the highs and lows of different things with regards to breakups and stuff, I am one very, very blessed boy. And if I don't appreciate that, then that's better than any amount of money that I'm ever going to get, or any medal I'm ever going to get. And I'm eternally grateful to them, because they're very, very special people. And that's made me take action, because I want to keep these people around me. I really do. They're amazing. Yeah. They're amazing. I still speak to you guys. I still speak to the 412, because we've all been in it together, kind of thing. And
yeah,
that's something to be very, very grateful to.
Creating friendships and yeah,
it is. Again, listen, I've got some of the oldest friends in the world that I class as my best friends, but I've also got some of the newest.
Yeah.
So you're never too old to make new friendships. You're never too old to make new bonds. Go out and be happy. A lot more people will be. I certainly see the world a lot better when I've gone out there and smiled. Oh, it's cheesy sound, James. I wake up every morning and I smile to myself because I'm here. And then I think to myself, right, who can annoy today?
Well, actually, what I do is to get up in the morning, stretch, smile, and say, I'm a masterpiece.
There you go then. That's it. You be a masterpiece, I'll be annoying. You've got a deal.
Yeah, that was sorted. Masterpiece and annoying. There we go. 2 great words.
That's it. Like Batman and Robin, pal.
Yeah, there we go. I'm Batman. Yeah.
Okay.
So the people listening now, can I ask what 1 to 3 things could you suggest people to do to, 1, boost their self-confidence, and 2, basically become an action taker?
Take the pressure off yourself. Again, we're coming out of a very strange time. I think this interview would have been very different if we had done it through a normal year. But again, take action. If there's something that you wanted to do during lockdown, or there's something you've always wanted to do, go and do it. Have a try. Yeah. If it's something that's been in the back of your mind and you've always wanted to go and do it, why not do it now? You've got nothing to lose, but everything to gain. Yeah. And by doing that, that will slingshot you into other avenues, because your confidence will grow. You'll meet new people. You'll find a new level of yourself. And by finding a new level of yourself, you'll realize that the faults that you took so personally aren't even there anymore. You kind of fade away just by you being focused on the fact that you go and do an ambition. Do it.
Yeah.
I'm training with one of my best friends. She never thought she could run. She's put an amazing amount of effort in, and now we're on the verge of her signing up for her first race. Immensely proud of it, because I can sit there and tell people how good they are, but the fact that that person's got the belief to go and do it proves that she wants to go and do it. What's the worst that can happen?
Well, this is it. You can't tell people to go and do something. They have to want to go and do it.
Listen, it comes down to that day and age where we are. If I told somebody to go and do that, it's kind of like an order. Yeah, straight away, you've got on the back foot. They're wondering why they can't do it. Why is he asking to do it? If you say, right, why don't you go and do this? I think it'd be good for you, and you explain it better, and they go and do it, they'll find reason to be able to turn around and go, actually, it was right. You were right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got you. So obviously, I know you said you're a keen goal setter. So when you've got a new challenge coming up, what's the first thing that you do?
Right now, being honest with you, I went away again for my first race a few weeks ago, the other weekend. Put no pressure on myself, none whatsoever. Just went and did the best I can. There had a few injuries beforehand, etc. So I wasn't going in there in the best shape I've ever been, but I didn't worry about it. I just didn't. But I'm going to get round. Found the last couple of miles tough. Again, glad I did, because it shows I've still got work to do. So first thing I did when I came back was didn't worry about the time. Looked at it about once, looked at my placing, put it aside. All I want to do in my next race, James, is simple. Just do better than I did last time.
Yeah.
Not time-wise, not race time, just to finish the race feeling a little bit better about myself, as in legs working better, etc. Then I know I've had a good race. I'm done with worrying about my times, etc. I'm too old for it. Do you know what I mean? And I've got nothing to prove anymore. I really haven't. The only person I've got anything to prove against is myself, and that's the best type of competition I've ever needed.
Yeah. Okay. That's perfect. Thank you, Greg. That's been awesome. So if anybody wants to get in contact with yourself or KMAC, how can they get in contact?
Yeah, basically, again, we're starting things back up. Last year was an unbelievably difficult year for everybody. I know a lot of people did go out and do charity things, but again, being the head of KMAC, I made the decision it was not the right time. The NHS was taking a severe battering, so that was front and centre. And I think we could almost go on record and say massive thanks to the NHS for what they've done over the last 15 months. But as with anything, everything has to restart. Looking at the figures again that I get sent about cancer starting to really ugly head again, it's never gone away. It never has. So now we've got to start the wheels turning about being able to move that battle forward. It'll be done slowly. It'll be done the right way. Like I said to you, to ask people that haven't got much, well, have struggled for money, because again, this lockdown's not been easy for anybody. It's not something I want to do. But what I do want to do to get the KMAC wheels turning is start saying more about self-awareness, about that, you know what, it's not just KMAC that's there to help you, okay? Go and speak to other charities, go and speak to other people, go and speak to you about your own mental health, etc. So we're going to go down that route. The time for fundraising will come when we can start to do events. But right now, my job as head of KMAC is to make sure that people are looking after themselves. And if you ever want to have a chat about mental health issues, I've got the contacts for them to be able to go away and say, do you know what, you are not on your own. We are here to help. Please message me.
Okay. Thank you very much, Greg.
You're an absolute gent.
Cheers. Thank you.